Hey everybody, I wanted to come on and just kind of show off my Mother's Day rose that I was given from my fiance and our son. I want to show it first without the lights because I'm sure that's odd on camera. I don't know. How do people do this? Pretty sure that's how they do it. Anyway, absolutely love it. I'm not a fan of flowers because they die, and this will not die. Um, and with that, which way does it go? With that, I also wanted to just come on here and I guess do like a little story time of sorts because I mean, honestly, that's what we're here for is honest conversations and to learn a little bit about me and hopefully for me to be able to help somebody else out there um, find recovery, find some coping skills, find what works for them, find some support, just find somebody that is going through something similar to what they're going through. Um, so with that, Lucas, as we all know, is on here. He is not my first son. I have another son who is 12. His name is Jackson, and it's not an easy story for me to tell, like the internet. But I think it's also really relevant because I see in my life, I see other people making the polar opposite choice than what I made, and it's really difficult for me to deal with. It's difficult for me to understand because giving up my parental rights was hands down the hardest thing I ever did in my entire life. It is the hardest thing I will have ever had to do for the remainder of my entire life. Um, Gives me crazy goosebumps just talking about it out loud. Um, but no, I was not on drugs when I had him. I smoked my marijuana like basically everybody does nowadays. No, I guess wasn't that open 12 years ago. But midwife approved, all that. I had the same problem, but not as severe with Jackson that I did with Lucas, where as my body is just not, I guess, quite big enough, like built right, to hold all the baby that I am supposed to hold. I also get very, very sick, now hyperemesis or whatever. I'm probably saying that wrong. Um, so I don't gain weight. I lose weight during my pregnancies, a lot of weight. I lost 30 pounds with Lucas, and I continued to lose afterwards. I gained back like 5 when I was, I don't know, 7.5, 8 months pregnant, and then lost it, I think, before I even had him. Or I lost it all as I had him. So I wasn't on drugs. I was 20, so I was not at the legal drinking age yet. I did turn 21 pretty shortly after having him. And so basically, my whole issue was mental health. Mental health. I was in an abusive relationship that I did not know how to get out of. I did eventually move to my brother's house with my son, but that was when he was like, God, I don't know, like 8 months old or something. So I did all of it on my own for the first 7, 8 months. His father was never involved. I was with somebody, um, sort of. We had been broken up, and neither one of us could afford to move out on our own, and still leave the other behind with the apartment. So we just kind of stayed like roommate situations. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I'll be the dad no matter what." And that was cool up until the day I went into labor, and then everything just flipped. Um, didn't even want to bring me to the hospital when I was in labor. I had to threaten to drive our stick shift. I don't know how to drive stick. Um, and most likely crash on the way there, which got him out of bed because he needed that car. And then he left the hospital while I was in labor. I remember the midwife calling him and being like, "Where are you?" Because I was like middle of labor. Still, he was nowhere to be found. He came back high. He was like falling asleep trying to hold one of my legs, and the nurses told him to just sit down. And basically, me and my midwife did everything together. She was amazing, stayed with me the entire time, even though she was like 5 months pregnant herself. She was great up in Maine. And yeah, then I went and I had to exclusively breastfeed. You know, that was especially back then, that was the information is that breast is best and blah 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 blah. It was pushed really really hard. So I exclusively breastfed through a lot of issues, production issues. He had severe acid reflux, and it come to find out, also celiac disease. So basically, everything that I was eating didn't help him at all going through my breast milk. He screamed basically nonstop. He would sleep for like 15-minute intervals. He would breastfeed almost nonstop. That's when he would sleep, was falling asleep, side nursing, just lying on the boob and just like, don't touch him. Um, and yeah, so I did that all by myself for 7, 8 months straight. He had clogged tear ducts, so his tears could not drain properly. So it would just all gunk up and build up in his eyes consistently. Every time he would fall asleep, every time he woke up, his eyes would be like crusted shut already, and I would have to hot compress and just try to get it all off the best I could without irritating his skin further. His eyes were always red all around them from just the irritation of constantly having to clean them, constantly projectile vomiting. So 20 years old as a brand new mom, not with the dad, in an abusive relationship that I quite literally could not get out of. I was offered no help initially by family or anything, any kind of friends or anything like that. I had hit my ex's mom, who did accept him as her grandson, right off rip, and she was amazing with him. But that's the only person that I had. I had severe anxiety that I was not dealing with, that I've had since I was like 11. Um, God, I don't even know what else. I mean, at that point, well, I mean, I had PTSD from like when I was born, before I went into foster care at the age of 3. So, depression, I had postpartum depression that I did not even know was a thing and didn't start treating until after he was a newborn. Um, it was hard. It was hard. Um, it was really, really hard. He did. Oh, you know what? No, it's after he was 8 months old that I even had any help with him because he was able to get in for surgery a little bit early about his eyes. I brought him in when he was 8 months. Most terrifying experience I will ever be through. I will have ever gone through. Is having to hold your infant while they put him under anesthesia, and you know that they don't know how they're going to react the first time, and being under 1 year old, can they fit a trach or whatever, down their throat. um, there's a lot of risks to that, but like I said, it was a big issue. It was very uncomfortable. It was downright painful for him. um, so we got his eyes done. They just literally had to go in, I guess, and like clear it, like unclog each of the ducts that like didn't fully open before or right as he was born. And then that issue cleared up, and that was great. And then yeah, my brother did end up, offering his help, and I moved into his house with Jackson, his condo at the time. And I love my brother. I love my brother to this day. We don't really speak right now. We did once a few years ago, but he had informed me that he did not want me in my son's life. and we have not spoken since. Um, whether or not I'm sober does not matter. And I have to respect that. I have to understand that I gave up my rights. I could have gone to court and I could have fought it. I could have contested it. I could have definitely put in the effort. And it wasn't that I didn't want to. I made a conscious decision that I was not good enough for my child. I think I have to go get my other child right now, so we may have to continue. But I made that conscious decision that I was not in the place mentally. I was not in the place emotionally. I was not in the place physically, even. I was dealing with my anorexia a lot after the baby was born. I already hadn't been able to eat for 9 months, so it was pretty easy to fall back into that pattern of not eating, continuing to not eat. So I had a lot of issues that I had to go resolve as an individual to be better for him. And that I knew that my brother was going to give him way more than I ever could, emotionally, mentally, financially. I mean, just I get chills again just talking about it because I know that my son, my firstborn, has the most amazing life that he could ever hope to have obtained. And that is worth it for me. That is worth it for me to go through the emotional pain, even now 12 years later, of like remembering it and opening myself up right now, because a lot of the time I kind of close off and I try not to even think about him because I know I don't have access because of the decision I made for him. So yeah, I love that. Good old Lucas saved me from some self-inflicted pain there. But I guess I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that my love for my firstborn son, Jackson, was and is bigger than my ego, my pride, my pain, or definitely just for the the need to be a mom just for the title. Because that's all that really is. When you're not there emotionally, mentally, and physically, like off your phone, down with them, interacting. I'm not saying every minute of the day, but supervise your kids. If you're not doing those things with them, then you're not a real mom. If you are not the person raising that child, if you are not actively helping to better their lives and better those little people who are trying to learn how to be good human beings, then it's just a title, and I didn't want that. And that kind of brings me to a point where it really irks me, and it's just wild to me, especially the area that I'm in right now. It it really irks me to see these parents out here who are hanging on tooth and nail to their children, that they are just mentally destroying because they want that government check. They don't want their food stamps to stop. They don't want their cash assistance to stop. They don't want their housing placements to stop. Especially the ones who are trying to turn them into an SSI check, like, oh, they have this, and oh, they have that, and yeah, they 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 years old, and they have this huge mental disorder that they don't have. Just trying to turn them into an SSI check. That shit absolutely disgusts me. Like I can feel my face getting hot about it. Like just, oh my God. No, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. I'm saying that I'm grateful to God to have given me that emotional maturity, that little tiny bit of emotional maturity that He gave me to be able to make that one decision for my child. Because He had a stable, structured, beautiful environment that he was absolutely able to grow up in. There was no reason that he needed to go couch surfing or shelter surfing with me trying to find a home. Do you want more? We're gonna eat real food. Look at your hair. You just want more bottles? That's crazy. I'm gonna have strawberries or kiwi. He just had his shots today, so he's like, okay, outside. He's cool. And I think what it really comes down to is the fact that if you don't want to put your kid first, their mental health and their stability, because remember, we're already grown. Like our traumas and our bad character flaws, our bad habits, all of that is already it's already ingrained in us. Can we work on it? Yes. Is it much harder? Yes. So our goal as parents is to raise these little human beings to be the best little human beings that they can be, and we have to do that by setting an example. He has not breastfed since he was like 2 months old. What are you doing? Those vaccinations really messed you up, huh? Ah, yeah. Smile. I love you so much. But yeah, these little human beings don't stay little human beings for very long, right? Look how fast he's growing. They learn, they learn everything that you teach them. And you are teaching them every moment of every day that you are around them, whether or not you are talking directly to them, whether or not you are including them in your activities. They see what you do, they hear what you say, and they're learning from you. And I was not the person at that time for a child to be learning from. And I hope and pray that when Jackson gets older, and we're able to speak a little bit about the situation, that he will understand, in whatever capacity he has at that age, to understand it. And I definitely expect anger. I expect resentment. I pray to God we can just have a relationship again, but that's completely up to him. Um, but to to possibly have not made that decision, it's nowhere in my imagination. I couldn't imagine where that child would be today if my brother had not stepped up like he did, you know. And as much as a mother or a father or caregiver wants to fake it when they're not actually being a caregiver, they're just collecting a check or collecting a title, is that these little human beings, they grow up, they gain the emotional intelligence to figure out that you were just trying to be the cool parent, that the way you never watched them was actually neglectful, that the clothes that didn't fit them was neglectful, that you never showering them was neglect, not a cool thing, like kids might think, at a young age. And eventually, that child's going to see who was the positive influences and role models in their lives and who was actually trying to better them as a person and their lives and who was just out for themselves. And, I would rather take the title that I have, whatever title that is, with my first son. I'm so blessed to have been given an opportunity to try again and to get it right. I do everything I can. You can thank your brother. Ah ha ha. Ah ha. Ow. love you. Oh. Delicious. You want some strawberries? Crinkle their eyebrows and everything. Some strawberries and watermelon. I taught him that on accident. There we go. Oh, that's how we call to each other. It's our little, like zebras or whatever in the wild. Gotta have different little names just in case you get around a whole bunch of babies. We don't want to lose you. I pray for every parent out there every single day that they have guidance in the choices that they make for their children, and that they can put their kids above themselves always, even if that means no checks or no title. You know, if somebody else can raise your kid better, if the other parent, let's clarify that, especially if the other parent can raise that child better, give them a chance. Have a good day, guys.